My sweet suffering, all my sorrow. I share them with you. Let's duel!
Welcome to this installment of the Digimon 30-Day Challenge as part of Digimon Month 2019 here on the Code Crown YouTube channel. Originally, I found this on Twitter via the user Dorumiko, and while I completed this challenge back from September to October 2018, I thought it might be fun to do it over for Digimon Month 2019 and have the chance to expand on some of my answers outside the limits of the Twitter text limit, as well as maybe see if my answers have changed or evolved since then. Puns. So let's get cracking with today's question.
Wow, we're on day 10 already, so we're a third of the way through our 30-day challenge here. And day 10 is asking, what is your favorite season? And for me, uh, I, as much as I love Applemon, and I will go on and on about how amazing Applemon is, it has to be Digimon Savers or Digimon Data Squad in the US, but mostly Savers. After a hiatus following Frontier, this series was geared toward fans who grew up on the original. The characters were older, the art style was a lot more mature. It dealt with a lot more adult themes throughout the show, but it also pumped up hot bloodedness, sweat, and tears, and it just wasn't afraid to be absolutely ludicrous. Like, the main character punches Digimon, and that's how he's able to power up his partner Agumon. Uh, it has homages to each season before it in the biohybrids who are able to transform into the Digimon themselves, so as a little bit of an homage to Frontier. But it's not afraid to be crazy. It pays respect to the older stuff, but obviously it takes a new spin on things. The main character doesn't wear goggles, a choice I'm still not okay with. All these years later, I do sort of wish they, stuck a pair of goggles on Masaru. But it gave me a lot of things as a fan. It gave me my favorite female in the franchise being Nanami. It gave me my favorite villain in Kurata, the mad scientist, and we're going to touch on him in a question that comes up later on in this challenge. But Kurata is just, oh, I love to hate him and I hate to love him. You know, he's one of those sort of villains, and we'll get into that later on. You dealt with the god of the digital world, the Royal Knights. This is the season where they really had an impact, and I think I've had my grievances with the overuse of Yggdrasil and the Royal Knights, and this is where it started. It was cool in this series, but they overdid it then, very much after that. The government organization that the main cast works for is like an homage to Tamers and the secret organization within that. So DATS is analogous to Hypnos. Again, the biohybrids are analogous to the Chosen Children of Frontier, and then it's just very much a shonen anime. I've talked about Masaru before, and he might come across as a bit his masculinity might be seen as a bit toxic by today's standards, but that was the sort. I think that was the sort of the dub did a great job of writing around that and making it not so much about being a man is the best way to go about things, but the dub went away about it and like just being a better person. You kept the idea of exchanging fists and having that bancho or that street fighters mentality as they went on to call it, and they did a really good job with it. But it also, you've also the main character is also this kid that hasn't seen his father in 10 years and is trying to perceive his own a sort of idea of what it means to be a man while supporting the household of a younger sister and a single mom. And so there's really nice family moments in that. For Masaru's household, at least, you don't really get so much with Yoshino, and I've touched on that before. Yoshino really gets the raw end of the stick as far as savers goes, and we're going to touch on that later on in the challenge as well, because there's a question that seems mean to answer Yoshino with, but when I get into it, I think it'll make a lot more sense. But the characters are so expressive. Like, this Agumon is so much more expressive than Taichi's Agumon. But this Agumon also seems to have set the standard of Agumon is just a hungry, they're just gas tanks, and that seems to have had a negative effect on the previous Agumon. I also take a liking to this show because the main character, I see a lot of my original OC, who you've seen before as on podcast thumbnails and such. I really don't know what else to say about it. My favorite Leomon came out of this show, Bancho Leomon, introducing me to the whole Bancho archetype within Digimon itself, which again relates back to my favorite Digimon, Wormmon, because one of his mega forms can be a Bancho Stingmon, and that's just like the best thing ever. But for all of Saver's flaws and for all its downfalls, I think it really helped sort of bring Digimon back into the mainstream by supporting and paying homage to what came before it, while also trying to do something different and carve out a new future for the franchise as a whole, and I can't really fault it for that. It's definitely not the best written show, but it has more going for it than it does against it, unlike, say, Adventure Zero 2. And yeah, so that's all I can really say, and thank you for hearing me out.